Good morning to the international admissions community joining in from the US, and good evening to all my fellow colleagues here in India. Thank you for the panelists and to the attendees and the audience for joining us for our Knowledge at KPT Counselors panel discussion series. As many of you know from our outreach emails that you've been receiving, Knowledge at KPT is a free platform created with the purpose of fostering discussion and sharing of information between diverse stakeholders of the US higher education community, such as US universities and colleges, along with Indian high school counselors and other thought leaders in the industry who are passionate about promoting the concept of a US higher education. On that note, I would like to begin our webinar today, the topic being Indian high school counselors in US colleges, international undergraduate admission trends, challenges, opportunities, and the road ahead in emerging tier 2, tier 3 Indian cities by introducing our wonderful panelists who've taken their kind time to share their expert insights with us. We will begin alphabetically, and I'd like to begin with Ms. Manisha Razdan, if you can kindly raise your hand, who is the Diploma Program Coordinator and Head of College Counseling at Jayashree Parival International School, Jaipur. Jayashree Parival International School, Jaipur offers schooling all the way from nursery to 12th grade. The student body is more than 2,000 plus students, and it has a cohort of 400 plus IB students in 11th and 12th grade. The current cohort who will be graduating in fall 2021 is 180 students. The school also offers programs, which is the PYP program, its own middle school program, IGCSE for 9th and 10th grade, and of course the IBDP for the 11th and 12th grade. We also have Miss Meghna Gandhi, if you could kindly say hello to everyone, who's the head of career counseling at the very well-known and famous Navrashna International School in Vadodara. NISV is part of the NES Navrashna Education Society, which has been into the education arena for more than 50 years in India. NISV offers IB and CBSE boards for students right from nursery all the way up to 12th grade. And last but not the very least, it's a pleasure to introduce Ms. Ritu Khanna, if you could kindly say hello, Head of Career Counseling at Fountainhead School, Surat. Fountainhead School is based in Surat since April 2008 and started with very few students, but today it has more than 2,000 students and is growing very fast every year. The school has already made a mark in the city as a provider of high quality, innovative education. Fountainhead School offers IB curriculum along with in terms of PYP, MYP, and TP programs, and recently got accredited by MSA CESS to offer American High School Diploma program. At present, there are only 6 schools in India associated with MSA CESS. So a special thank to the panelists for taking an hour to spend their time today and their contribution to our webinar series. We'll also be having a few polls during the session, so please be on the lookout for the same. And as always, as you know, the Knowledge at KPT is a free platform to share its intellectual capital and depends on collaboration of many people coming together. So please do take a quick survey at the end of the session. Having said that, it brings me the pleasure to bring to my first question for the day, and I'm going to start with Ms. Manisha Razdan. The first question for the day is, what are some of the majors and minors your students typically plan to pursue? I mean, we know the students, what they want to do from, the major cities such as Mumbai and Delhi and Bangalore. But what about the region that you're in Jaipur, and of course your school? What are some of the majors and minor your students would like to pursue, ma'am? Thank you.
Kunal, our Jaipur is a very business-oriented town.
Right.
And there are huge business families here, jewelers and hoteliers, a lot of tourism involved families. So typically our students, most of the cohort, they look for business degrees outside. But along with that, they are, of course, all branches of business. They're looking at finance and marketing and HR. But a huge chunk of the cohort also looks at engineering.
Okay, engineering.
A lot of them like to go in for engineering to various colleges all over the world.
Right.
Another emergent thing that is coming now is visual arts.
Visual arts,
They
okay.
like to go in for graphic designing, textile designing, all kinds of fine arts courses. And again, they've been going to institutes all over the world for that. Another thing that they go in for, they've been going a lot for surprisingly performing arts also.
Right. Okay.
They look at performing arts also. And then of course, pure sciences, architecture.
Right.
These are typically the majors that the kids are looking at.
Correct.
And in the performing arts, they are usually mixing it up as a minor
Right.
with their major degrees. And a number of our students also go in for dual majors,
Right. Okay. Dual
going
majors.
for double majors, or they're going for a major and minor.
Okay.
So, of course, they are looking at all the kind of different kinds of streams, but
Right.
primarily we have a huge chunk going in for either art and design or business
Right.
or engineering.
Engineering. Okay. And
And a few of
coupled with
them
all
going
three
to
other
medicine. Right now, I have one person, one child in this cohort is going to Cambridge for medicine.
Okay.
So a nice mixed bag here and there, but these are the primary courses that the kids are looking at.
Absolutely. That's wonderful to hear, Manisha ma'am. Meghna ma'am, I would love to hear about your students. What are your students pursuing, and what are you seeing in, the Vadodara city region? Thank you.
Well, humanities gaining popularity,
Okay.
and at the same time, I'm seeing students still retaining the interest with engineering, but maybe AI and Internet of Things or robotics gaining popularity among engineering majors. Humanity, all possible subjects, right from political science to anthropology. Students are exploring new careers.
Right.
Pure sciences and pure economics is still in demand. There are students who would go in for pure sciences and eco-BM combination at the same time.
Right.
We'll also have few students showing interest in pursuing law or architecture or interior at the same time. And my art students are showing a lot of interest in product designing apart from pure fine arts subjects.
Absolutely. That's very, very interesting to hear. And Ritu ma'am, would love to hear from you as well. What are you seeing in Surat? Of course, Surat's an important city, and of course, from your student body as well. Would love to hear your thoughts. Ritu ma'am, I think you're on mute right now, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Right?
Yeah.
No problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can
Okay.
hear you.
So as Manisha ma'am mentioned, Surat is also a business class city. I mean, a lot of textile families you will find here. Diamond market is major market here. So we also have a lot of business class families here and their childs studying in our school. Talking about the majors, majority of our students finalizing business management as the final choices. It's not that they are not inclined towards other things.
Right.
What I have seen a trend that they start with a lot of things in 7th and 8th, 9th and 10th. It's a kind of realization and kind of pressure from their parents also, because they don't want them to go outside of Surat, because they feel like
Right.
if they will go, they will not come back. So they want them to be in India, stay in India, any state, or maybe in Surat itself. But apart from business, so majority of them are pursuing business and related fields. But yes, definitely there are students who are planning to pursue engineering. Majority of students who are planning to pursue engineering is related to computer science. So not other streams. It's not that other
Hello?
streams are not important, but computer science is very popular. Next important thing is humanities.
Hello?
Can you hear me, Kunal?
You're audible, Ritu.
I think Kunal is not able to hear me. Are you able to
Right.
hear? Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there was some. Okay.
Oh, that's
So
okay.
thank you for sharing. I'm sorry we lost. I lost myself in out there. But were you able to complete the answer, ma'am? Sorry, I lost you for a quick 10
No,
seconds.
no. I was talking about
Please,
the
please,
next
please.
major that the students are planning to pursue, psychology and other fields related to humanities. Of course, followed by architecture, art and design, visual arts. So these are some majors and minors that in our school students are interested in pursuing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I'm going to move on to the next question. And sorry about the little connection error that we had in there. I'm going to move on to the next question. And I'd like to begin with Miss Meghna. If you could kindly begin. And of course, I'll move to the other counselors. Compared to tier 1, tier 2 cities, we would like to know what are some of the saying in Vadodara as, you know, a tier 2, tier 3 city that you would like to share with the participating audience? You know, when it comes to where your students are going, in which countries are your 12th grade students planning to pursue their bachelor's degree in? Thank you.
Yeah. Students, majorly due to some locational advantage, they choose their study destination, where UK and USA have always topped the list for certain reasons. Due to some recent development now, I am observing a shift to other destinations as well, Canada being the third best, I believe. And of course, students are exploring options about nearby countries, so where they are probably considering Dubai and Singapore or Australia also as the plan B alternate destinations. Some of the students this year have observed have chosen to stay back, and maybe USA was their priority list, but now they are also considering plan B, which is staying back in India for their undergrad.
Kunal, you're not audible. Are
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Ritu ma'am, if you, thank you so much, Meghna ma'am, for sharing that. Ritu ma'am, if you would, if you can kindly share about, you know, the student mobility trends that you were seeing in Surat and, you know, of course, in your region, and what you're, of course, seeing in your school, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so in Surat, initially there was a lot of craze for US and Canada. It still is, but looking at the current scenario and looking at the uncertainties that are there with US admissions and other policies related to visa and other things, now I'm seeing there's a shift towards Canada, and now a lot of students are choosing Singapore and Hong Kong also. So these are the major destinations that I've seen in past years. Now with this COVID situation into the picture, now, there are many students now, they are, as Meghna ma'am said, thinking of staying back in India and completing their undergrad here and then moving for post-graduation for maybe US, UK or other countries as per their choice.
Absolutely. That's very fascinating to hear. And Manisha ma'am, what are you seeing at your end? What are you seeing and what is happening with your students? If you can
Kunal, happily, the situation in Jaipur, and especially I'm talking about my school, it remains the same, more or less.
Okay.
It still are, the biggest chunk is applying to the United States.
Okay.
And they are, the 2021 batch is still very hopeful that they will find a better scenario. So they're still looking at United States, followed by UK. Most of the kids who want to do either law or medicine, they look at UK. And
Okay.
of course, traditionally, we've had children going to Singapore, and those are probably for more for the kind of students who really want to get into academics only. And also because Singapore national universities, they have the tuition grant system, which
Right.
is very easy on the pockets of the parents. So Singapore has been a popular country for our students, Canada, of course, but still the prime focus remains United States for my students.
Right.
Although I've seen an emergent trend for Australia, as my colleagues were saying, and also Netherlands.
Okay.
Some, yeah, a few students last cohort, they have gone to Netherlands also.
Right.
But I think still about 70% of the chunk of the cohort is still looking at United States.
Okay, that's nice. Nice to see, nice to hear about that. So given we're talking about the US, I'm going to bring on the next question for the day, and I'm sure this would interest all the attendees, the universities, given the recent developments in the US. So my next question to the three panelists today is, given the recent back and forth announcement by the US government and the immigration's ICE department on international students, how has this impacted your cohort who's planning for fall 2021 admissions? You know, I mean, of course, the U.S. immigrations had an you know, had a notification which said no first, and now they're saying yes. And then, of course, as you know, and you're on the ground here in India, and I'm sure you're following all the TV news and channels. There's a lot of chaos back and forth. So what are your students saying on the ground when you're speaking to them? I'd like to begin this question with Ritu ma'am. Ritu ma'am, if you could kindly start this question, and then we'll move on to the other panels. What are your students viewing the current the policies and of course the notifications coming from the ICE department? How do your students view it? Thank you.
Yeah. So looking at the current situation, anyways, I mean, students were a little uncertain about their application. It's not that they're not planning to apply. Definitely, US, Canada, and other places are in their plan, but they are uncertain because they don't know how the COVID situation is going to be there. Now, this announcement that that has been made, I mean, it was a major blow to the students, and the uncertainty have increased. The stress was increased. They were anxious, and I was poured with the queries that what will happen now, what will happen to our application, whether we should apply or shouldn't apply, because we don't know what is going to happen. I mean, the plans that have completely changed, and now we need to start relooking at the university selection list, and I mean, again, get into that kind of practice, is that shortlisting the universities, finding out the countries, looking at the courses. So yes, that was a blow to my students, definitely. I mean, all the counselors were also very anxious and stressed hearing that news, and then this came into the picture again, that they have revoked that notice. But again, the situation is that, I mean, giving that notification, revoking that notification, it's kind of uncertainty still there, that what is going to happen in future, whether that will come again or that will not come again, or even if it will not come again, then they will apply and then go. What will happen then? What will happen when they are already there?
Absolutely.
So yes, that situation is still there. Right now, it's I mean, we are relieved because they have taken back that notification. But yes, that was something
Absolutely.
that was that made students very anxious.
That's very interesting. Manisha ma'am, I'll move on next to you. What are you seeing on the ground when it comes to the US immigration's announcement, and the questions or the that your students have been asking in the impact? Are you still seeing any impact, or like you said, there's no impact? Would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you.
I would say that there is no impact, but
Right.
this has been a year of uncertainties in many ways. And the kids have a wonderful way of bouncing back and adjusting and being positive about it. More so, I have a very strong alumni network. They're all over the US. They are in various colleges of US, and they are keeping their juniors posted about it. And the fact that some of the leading universities and institutes, they took a very strong stand. They even moved to court against the government. So that kind of makes them hopeful. Then what happens right now, the ones who've already gotten admission into the various colleges, talking about the cohort that graduated in 2020, they already have their college. And given the COVID situation, the uncertainty is more because of the COVID situation than because of the governmental policies.
Absolutely.
And the next batch that is beginning the process of applications to US colleges are, they are quite confident that things are going to be sorted out by the time we are going in the next fall. So as of now, it has not impacted my application process at all. Right?
Okay.
The parents might be asking a few questions here and there. Of course, they will ask, but it has not really impacted it that much.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear. And Meghna ma'am, what are you seeing in Vadodara at your school, and of course in your community and your city? What are some of the things that you're hearing? Thank you.
Yeah, well, certain level of anxiety still prevails, and I see it increasing at times. Parents also have some health concerns. They are worried about their children, sending them so far in an alien country. At the same time, due to changed financial equations, they are also now inquiring about more scholarship resources. And batch 2020, again, as I mentioned, they are considering the backup in terms of another country or staying back in India. At the same time, 2021 is again anxious. I keep hearing, do we still consider USA as a destination? How will it look like by next year? Are we good to go? So some level of anxiety, some level of uncertainty, I do see in the minds of parents and students as well. Kunal, sir, you're muted.
I'm on mute. Sorry, I'm on mute again. So that's very interesting to hear. We are, of course, seeing different factors come into play because of this announcement by ICE, which is why I'm going to move on to the next question for the day. And I'm going to begin again with Manisha ma'am. Is, when it comes to tier 2, tier 3 cities, how are students different and parents, when it comes to researching, applying and enrolling in universities in the US? I mean, what are their needs which might be different or not different compared to what we're seeing in tier 1 cities like New Delhi or Mumbai? And how would they be approaching the college admissions process from a research, application, enrollment point of view? Manisha ma'am, I will begin with you. Thank you.
Kunal. So, like the tier 1 cities, there is a small percentage of our parents who are looking at brands, but that's a very small percentage.
Okay.
And I think we have, as a school, we have done a lot in changing the mindset of the parents. And now there's a happy change. I'm looking at a number of very innovative things that the parents are talking about when they come to me for counseling. They will talk about colleges that are offering interdisciplinary courses. They are looking at colleges that are, more flexible in terms of majors and minors.
Right.
These are the new trends, and of course, scholarship remains to be a big concern of the parents, and they look for scholarships, and they also again a happy trend. They've started looking for best fit colleges. Earlier, it used to be the name of the college. They had heard a few names, and they would say, okay, this college or that college or none at all. But that's not happening now. Then now they are looking at colleges and the courses offered. What is the ranking of the college as far as the courses go? And they will look at the campus life and the weather situation. Some of them look at the weather situation also, if it's going to be too cold. And campus life is also one of the concerns. So when they are spending a lot of money on their kids, they want a very holistic experience for their children. So
right.
Now that
absolutely
concern for the brand and that stamp is no longer there. They are looking more in terms of networking, holistic experience. What kind of clubs do the colleges offer? What kind of industrial attachments are they offering? What kind of and what will be the job situation afterwards? So
absolutely.
These are the things. The parent community is becoming a broader minded and more educated, which is a very, very positive thing.
Wonderful to hear that. Meghna ma'am, what are you seeing in Vadodara that you would like to share with the participating US colleges who are here today? What is you seeing at your school and, of course, in your city and community? Thank you.
I totally agree with Manisha ma'am. We see that happy shift. They start thinking early, they start planning early. And yes, they are looking forward to getting into the best fit rather than the best brand into the industry. What also I've observed is they have certain locational advantage when they are choosing a destination, whether it's UK or USA or Canada. It's either the elder sibling studying there or a family set up already been there. So they have their own reasons to choose a destination apart from the courses or the programs they wish to get into. So that is one concern. Budget, yes, does play a role while choosing the destination. What also these days they think about is co-op opportunities or post-study work visa possibilities. So they do understand, they are serious about building their careers, and they do consider the whole thing very, very holistically, thinking from 360-degree angle, and then they take a decision.
Absolutely. That's nice to see that they are taking a holistic approach. And Ritu ma'am, would love to hear your inputs as to what you're seeing in the city of Surat and, of course, in your community and, of course, in your school as well. Thank you.
Yes, Kunal. So I completely agree with what Meghna ma'am and Manisha ma'am had said. There is a shift in parents thinking of big brands. So now they are not thinking of big brands. Of course, that's there in their list, but they're also listening to us and understanding what is best fit for their child. So that's very good change that I'm seeing. Apart from that, what my cohort is looking at is where their seniors have gone. So I mean, I was sharing this with someone that University of Toronto, it's a kind of mini FS there.
Right.
A lot of students are there, Fountain at school, and the juniors and seniors keep coming and asking who are those students, and we would like to communicate with them, because they kind of find everything on their tips, because they can anytime contact them, call them, check with them that what is the scenario there.
Right.
So that is one preference that my students have. Definitely they are looking for courses. Co-op is one thing definitely that they are looking for. That is why Canada is a top choice for my students basically. So
Right.
one is co-op and other is PR. Definitely they are looking for.
Right.
Scholarship, looking at the current situation, has become another priority. So they are looking at universities offering need blind, need based, merit based, any kind of scholarship, so that they can support their parents with
Right.
the fee thing and other things as well. So these are a few things that I am seeing my students are looking at when they are looking at and finalizing the university and shortlisting the universities
Wow,
basically.
that's wonderful to hear that. So thank you to all the counselors for sharing what your students are really looking for. And of course, as we know, tier 2, tier 3 cities, some the criteria can very much vary compared to a Mumbai or Delhi, as you can see. So I'm going to move on to the next question, and to the attendees after this question, we are going to be having a poll. So please be on the lookout for that poll. You can vote and the poll will be coming up on your screen. But first I'll begin my question and I'll be beginning this question with Ms. Meghna. Meghna ma'am, what are some of the emerging questions that are coming your way as you are a guidance counselor from students and parents regarding fall 2021? I know, when we were in touch a few months ago, it was about fall 2020 and COVID and many other things, right? So about fall 2021, what are some of the big questions? What are the emerging themes or questions coming your way? Would love to hear your inputs on that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Uh, Number one concern is that more universities becoming test optional due to the current situations. My cohort of batch 2020 would ask me, my batch of 2021 also will have the same question. Do we still give SAT? Is it still making any sense for us? Is it still necessary for us? What next is maybe 2021 typically would want to know that is it going to be more competitive just because batch 2020 is considering gap year or
Right.
they've accepted a deferred admission. So does that means that 2021 admissions are becoming more competitive? And with that, next question would follow would be, do we apply early? Will that help?
Right.
EA or ED, does it really help in the current situations, especially?
Absolutely.
And third question would be, probably they would want to know more about the scholarships available to make it more affordable, because it has impacted everybody financially as well.
Right.
And the affordability to a certain level has gone down because jobs and businesses have taken a big hit. So again, part of it, students probably would think it's no more an affordable equation for them. They dream of studying into UK or USA or Canada.
Right.
And some would still be very optimistic. They would like to find out more about the scholarship options. How could we make it more affordable? And can we still consider studying
Right.
abroad?
That's wonderful. Ritu ma'am, if you can please share your inputs, that will be wonderful for us to hear as well. Thank you.
Yeah, so students are really concerned. I mean, I'm just connecting to what Meghna ma'am had said, that SAT, giving SAT or not giving SAT is the main question that they are asking these days, with the uncertainty whether SAT will happen or not. So talking about my school, this 29th August SAT, we don't know whether we'll be able to offer that or not because of local authorities not giving permission.
Right.
So, but they are very positive. I mean, they are seeing it as that if not possible in August, then maybe September, October, definitely we'll be giving that. But they are also looking at those universities who've now announced them as test optional. So
Right.
definitely that's something that's in their list. Uh, EDEA is another question that they are asking. So, I mean, recently I was having a meeting with one of my students, and she mentioned that she is not going to apply for ED. Earlier, she was, but she said that she is not ready to bind in herself so early because don't know how the situation will unfold in coming future. So
Right.
yeah, these are some of the situation and some of the questions that the students who are applying abroad definitely right now looking for regular admission than the early action.
Absolutely, that's so interesting. And Manisha, ma'am, what are some of the things that you're hearing for fall 2021?
So my colleagues have more or less listed all the questions.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say that I have two very distinct groups regarding the test optional thing. I have very different kind of questions that I keep hearing. One group is the ones who have not scored very well in their SATs and ACTs.
Right.
Uh, Typically, the 2021 cohort they're already done with their SATs and ACTs. Right?
Okay.
So uh, they're not really looking forward to whether the 29th August one will they have it or not. So they're more or less done with it. But the questions that I'm hearing are the colleges really going to be test optional?
Correct.
Because the ones who have not scored very well, they are very excited about that.
Right.
Then I also have a cohort of supremely competitive students who all in their first go, they've got a 1580 or a 1590 or a 1570. They are upset about the fact that they are going to lose the edge that they had over the others.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the thing that probably Meghna was talking about is that they are questioning what happens if our seniors take a deferment.
Right.
Are we going to be competing with our own uh, seniors?
Yes.
However, in my batch of 2020 graduates, I have not yet heard about the deferment
Okay.
because
Okay.
they have all made it to their dream colleges and they've all got scholarships. So they are a little, cherry about letting go of it. And although they know that it's going to be mostly online. But
Correct.
one interesting question that I'm hearing from my 2021 cohort is what's going to happen to the extracurriculars?
Okay. Absolutely.
They are okay with the academics happening online. But when they go to college, they are very excited about these extra things that they would be doing.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So they're asking how are the colleges going to, compensate for that, or how are they going to do it? Like we have started already doing such things in school. We are doing all co-curriculars and everything, whatever we do, we are doing it online. So they are questioning whether the colleges would be open to doing things like this online also.
Absolutely. And
We know that academics, they're okay with that, but they are uncertain about what's going to happen to community service or
correct.
what's going to happen to any kind of other, attachments here and there, some kind of a field experience,
Correct.
exchange programs. So they are asking me questions about that.
Absolutely. And I can see already we have some wonderful questions that are coming in on the Q&A chat box. So institutions, universities and colleges, if you would like to post questions, please post it in the Q&A box, which is to your bottom right. Having seen the impact, I mean, of course, there are questions from counselors about the impact on the admissions process at institution for fall 2021. That brings me to my first poll of the day, and it is on your screen, and we'll be waiting for about 30 seconds before we bring the results and sharing the results with everyone. Would COVID-19 impact the admissions process at your school? Please, all of you who are joining in today, please vote. It will be lovely to hear your feedback on what's happening, and of course share it with the counselors, and then we'll try to run another poll as well before we move on to a question, because we have questions about test optional policies. So we'll try to see that, or the scholarships, whichever we get time for. I'm going to be waiting for another 5 to 10 seconds. So I'm going to be waiting for 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And the results are available right now on everyone's screens. As you can see, about 41% or 11 attendees have said yes, it will impact admissions. About 33% have said no, which is 9, and 7 have, which is 26%, have said maybe. So to all those who have participated, would love to hear your thoughts in the chat box or the Q&A, and we can continue this discussion with the guidance counselors. Having said that, we'll be having a few more polls as we go along the way. I think it's now time for the next question for the day. Given the current scenario, where you see, when do you envision schools reopening? I know we have, right now, a lot of you have the counselors have said everything is online learning, and that's happening not only in India but around the world. Given the current scenario, when do you envision schools reopening? The second point would be, once they reopen, what would the calendar be like? And also the third part of my question would be, would universities be allowed to travel in the coming year? And if you're allowing universities, or if you think universities may be allowed to travel, how do you see this happening? And I'll begin this question, I think, with Megha ma'am. I think we can begin with you, and then we can move on to Ritu ma'am and Manisha ma'am as well. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you, sir. Currently, as you are aware, all the schools are completely on online mode. And post-COVID, we quickly moved on to the online. And that time probably we thought term 1, that is probably till Diwali time, till the month of October or November, probably we are working online. In all probability, probably term 1 exam for all the students also will happen online. But as we move along, I won't be surprised if we just go online for the whole year. We are prepared, we are equipped, and in all probability, the whole year, I believe, will go online. In that case, the school calendar has not changed. Everything that we used to do on campus physically has converted to the online mode, whether it's our MUM preparations, or whether it's the inter-house debate competition, and whether it's the small test, or even the big test for the term. What change that I envision is probably the annual events, probably our annual sports day or the annual day may not take place for the obvious reasons. And near future, I don't envision any university visits happening online, happening physically to the campus, for the simple reasons we don't see students returning to the school campus too soon.
Okay, that's nice to hear that. And Ritu ma'am, would love to hear your thoughts. What are you seeing at your school? What is your administration, or you have been in touch with your management, I mean your school, about the coming year school calendar? Would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you.
Sure. So, talking about my school, I mean, we ended the last academic year online. I mean, we did the entire senior school term and examination online, and we culminated and we started this year online, and we are perfectly equipped with everything, and we are continuing till I think this term end, because reopening the school, it all depends upon the government notification. When they will announce schools reopening, then we will reopen. And then the plan is to move to 70-30 ratio, 70% online classes and 30% offline classes. But right now, I'm not seeing this happening because I mean, here in Surat, the COVID situation has really worsened in the recent past few weeks.
Right.
And it's not lockdown, but sort of lockdown again has been imposed. So I mean, you can't open the outlets and shops after 4. So this is the kind of situation, and cases are increasing. So I'm not seeing school reopening anytime soon. We are running each and everything online. Recently, we culminated our convocation for 2020, class of 2020, and that
Correct.
has happened online.
Right.
PS activities, AS activities, arts, spatial and physical education, all we are doing completely online.
Correct.
So, I mean, we are seeing it happening the same way till Diwali vacation. And
Okay.
after that, it all depends when the government will announce a reopening the school.
Absolutely, that's wonderful. Thank you, Ritu ma'am, for sharing that insight. Manisha ma'am, what are you seeing in Jaipur when it comes to school reopenings and visits by universities?
The COVID situation is worsening, as they are saying. It's peaking, and after that, hopefully, it will flatten out. Uh, some schools are adopting the model of 70-30 or whatever, some portion of it online, or some percentage of students allowed. But we are not looking at that at all. I think it's just a waste of energy on part of the teachers, some of them going to the school and some of them conducting it online. So we are sticking to the uh, situation that the school is closed.
Okay.
And this year, I don't think it's going to open, and especially because I'm sure their schools are also, and my school is also, we have a big chunk staying in the boarding house.
Right,
Boarding house is a dorm situation,
right.
so students living close together. So even if the government gives us an okay of opening the school, I am not very sure whether parents will feel confident enough to send their kids to schools. So as far as university visits are concerned, we would welcome virtual visits.
Right.
Physical visits will not be possible, as they've said that the students are not there, and virtual visits would be better because I think parents, we've had a couple of virtual visits in the recent past, and the parents are participating more in those.
Okay.
Sometimes when we had the physical visits, the parents were not free enough to, come and join during the daytime. But now when we have them online, parents are joining in, and there are really, really fruitful virtual visits happening. So we are not
Absolutely.
looking at physical visits at all, maybe not till April.
Absolutely. Thanks for your inputs. I mean, these are some very interesting insights, and I hope the universities find them useful too. And thank you so much to all the three counselors for taking time to not only share about their academic calendar, but also the visits to their schools. So, I'm going to begin the next question with Ritu ma'am. We have two more questions for the day. So the question that I'd like to begin with, Ritu ma'am, is given the transition to virtual learning, as Manisha ma'am, you, and of course, Meghna ma'am mentioned about virtual learning. How are students viewing virtual visits? And most importantly, what type of virtual engagement do you think will be important for your 12th grade students who are now in process to apply for fall 2021? We already heard that, parents are finding these virtual visits beneficial and they are participating. So, what type of virtual visits, and when do you think US colleges should contact you to hold these virtual visits? Thank you, Ritu ma'am.
Sure. So right now, I mean, virtual learning is happening, and students and parents, as Manisha ma'am said, both are really excited because there's nothing else to do right now. They can't go outside, they can't do internship, they can't do summer school. It's all happening online. So definitely they are looking forward to it. There is a weekly newsletter that I sent across to all my senior school students about whatever webinars, lectures that I get from my counselors group or otherwise directly. And they're, I mean, happily participating in those webinars. And I think they are more participating now because, as Manisha ma'am said, parents, when you schedule anything in school, they don't have time to come to school and attend those expert sessions, guest sessions, but now they're at home, and they the time that is convenient to them, they can attend that, because mostly these kind of webinars either happening late evening or early morning, and they have time to attend these things. So definitely these are really helpful. My only suggestion is that what I'm seeing and I'm getting feedback from my students, that they're really looking forward to have kind of a workshop model or a lecture kind of series to know more about the faculties and about the universities.
Right.
That is something that they are really interested in, because in the past week I've shared a few lecture series by some universities, and some Indian universities holding workshop kind of thing, and giving away certificate of participation, though it doesn't matter, but they are excited about it. So I think if those kind of things are planned by the universities and can be scheduled, so that's really good.
Absolutely. I think these are wonderful insights, Ritu ma'am. I think you really nailed it out there. So thank you for that, sharing that. Meghna ma'am, would love to move on to you and love to hear what's happening at your end, and what do you view virtual engagements at? What type of virtual engagements do you think will be beneficial to students in Vadodara and of course to your school? And when do you think university should be contacting you to hold these virtual sessions? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. The positive side effects of lockdown is we all have realized the power of technology, that how we still could remain connected. And it's overwhelming to see the number of universities offering webinars and virtual webinars and virtual visits. The number of choices, the number of options have increased, I believe, of interaction to my students compared to when I'm receiving them physically. So it's glad to see that the wheel has not stopped moving, and students are still getting an opportunity to remain connected to the universities. They are getting the necessary information from them and the necessary guidance. What I would really appreciate is, especially in the context of tier 2, tier 3 cities, that very sadly, if I'm not wrong, the statistics says only 1% of the school in India has a full-fledged career counseling department with the school. So that simply means lack of guidance and lack of awareness on the students' part. At the same time, I'm observing tier 2, tier 3 cities are a very rising spots, and they should be under limelight now. I strongly believe there is no dearth of talent. There are aspiring students and very good in number, but due to some lack of services available or some infrastructure, lack of infrastructure availability, probably the required guidance or the required support, which a tier 1 city student would receive, both from inside the school and outside the school, may not be available for a tier 2 or tier 3 student. So what I would really appreciate is, as Rituman suggested, maybe some career session, some workshop, some summer program opportunity would be really, really beneficial, would be very helpful to the students.
Correct.
In fact, as right now when I'm attending this webinar, my art students are attending a wonderful workshop with my art departments.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
Teachers. So I mean, I see wonderful things happening, and end of the workshop, they are receiving that certificate and a lot of exposure. So I'm so glad such things are happening, which otherwise we would not have realized the power, the potential of the technology.
Absolutely.
So I'm still very optimistic, very assertive, and yes, to the university, what I would like to say is that this connect is the key. The visibility is the key. So around the year, if you are able to provide some sessions on and off to the tier 2, tier 3 students, even when there are no career counselors with the school, probably you will find that one connecting dot, the coordinator or the subject teacher or the principal, who would be more than happy to have you over for taking a session where students are getting benefited. So I'm sure you have a lot of potential to tap there, and that round the year connect, that visibility is very helpful end of the day, I believe.
Absolutely.
So that is one suggestion. And August, September would be a very, very ideal time, I would say, because that's where they are working right now on Common App. UCAS is open. So this is the right time that they get guidance about how to go ahead regarding the application to these countries. What I would appreciate is probably some career sessions on how to find the best fit colleges, or how to write an effective SOP. Around this time, August, September would be really, really helpful and will be very timely for the students.
Correct. I think that is some wonderful advice. Thank you so much for your detailed explanation. So helpful. Manisha ma'am, would love to move on to you and ask you your input and your expert take on, of course, about the virtual engagements, the type of virtual engagements, and when do you think they should happen? Thank you.
Kunal, I'll begin with when I think they should happen. I think December to February is the ideal time.
Okay.
I wouldn't say September. because my school, they have their exams in August, September. August end, the exams are beginning. December to, and then you have the, you know, the festive season in India.
Hmm.
So
Correct. Right.
maybe November to February is the ideal time.
Right.
And just keeping it short and just telling what are the kind of things that the students enjoy.
Okay.
We've had a couple of visits, virtual visits, 3 to 4
Right.
universities together
Okay.
with their admissions people, and after that the students take it up. They, just to give some kind of a brief exposure about what is the admission scenario like and what is the university or the college like, just a brief overview, a question answer session with us, and then the students take over from there. I'll
Okay.
agree with my colleagues that the free webinars have been a great thing that most
Right.
of the universities are offering, and my kids have been enrolling in them, and
Right.
they had a lot of exposure. So this kind of thing should continue, and this can happen over the year. But the virtual visits, according to me, November to February is the ideal time.
Okay, I love the diverse insights from
Yeah.
all three of our experts today. So really, really helpful. We have some saying August. Of course, there's September now. We're hearing December to Feb as well. So really love the diverse inputs out here, so universities can plan their calendar accordingly. I'm going to move on to the final question for the day, and then we're going to be opening up for the Q&As. I can already see there about questions that are being posted in the Q&A box, and we'll be asking the counselors for their expert intake and inputs on these questions. But the final question would be, what are some of the effects of COVID-19? I know we discussed about the admission side, but also the financial side when it comes to parents, because as we know, counselors, we are living in a collectivist culture. Parents are very much part of the decision-making process here in India. So what are the financial impact of COVID-19 on parents for your upcoming 2021 fall students? You know, because we've seen the rupee depreciate. We've seen a lot of businesses lose a lot of revenue because of the lockdown. Stock market has crashed out here in India. So there can be an impact on savings and investments. So what are some of the things that you are hearing, and what your students would be wanting for fall 2021? Would love to hear from you. I think I'm going to be beginning this question. I kind of lost my train of thought with who do we begin this? Can we start with Manisha, ma'am?
Yes, sure. Uh,
Okay.
so, yes, you're right. The businesses have been impacted drastically. And considering that I opened this webinar saying that Jaipur is a business town,
Correct.
it has been hit quite badly, considering that most of our parent community are dealing with either the jewelry business and the hotel business. Hotels have been shut down. We know
Right.
that, and they are paying their staff. So the financial constraints are there. As a school, we've reached out to them and we've reduced our fee tremendously. We've
Right.
stopped taking many of the things. So this is one of the central concerns that the colleges should be looking at, considering that in all probability, the first semester at least, if not the first year, is going to be an online process. So if they could think in terms of reducing the fee or offering more support in terms of need blind scholarship or merit scholarships. So parents are definitely looking for that, barring which if we don't have that kind of a financial support or financial flexibility from the colleges, then yeah, the kids might have a problem in probably joining immediately this year, because financially the business class and everybody else, even the people who are salaried are getting reduced salaries for sundry reasons, very understandable.
Right.
So yes, the financial situation is rather rickety at the moment.
Right.
A helping hand from the colleges would definitely help, and the parents have been inquiring about that.
About scholarships. Ritu ma'am, if you can kindly share your thoughts, would love to know what you're going, and of course we'll move on to Meghna ma'am as well. Miss Ritu ma'am, would love to hear your detailed opinions about the financial impacts. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I completely agree with all the points that Manisha ma'am has mentioned. I also stated that Surat is also a business class city. Textile markets are closed. Diamond markets are closed just because social distancing cannot be followed there. So it started and then it's closed. So here also parents are badly hit. now this whole local fee issue has been cropped up, and now parents are really concerned about financing their child's education. Uh, uh, One person might say that loans are available, but they are not sure whether they will be able to pay that loan or not. So in this situation, current situation, it will be really good if maximum scholarships can be offered, or at least some kind of fee reduction can happen, at least for that time when the classes are happening online, because parents are also saying that we are paying full fee for online sessions.
Right.
When the students are not in the campus, they cannot really feel the soul of the campus, and they are not involved in all sorts of activities that actually going to happen in the campus. Is just online study happening. So definitely that is going to be a huge help, I would say, to the parents and to the students of class of 2020,
Absolutely. And
2021 as well, sorry.
2021, absolutely. Yes, there's some great points. Meghna ma'am, would love to hear your inputs and what you're seeing with your student body and of course in Vadodara. Thank you.
Yeah, we have this middle level income strata of parents who have started questioning that whether destinations like UK, USA are still affordable to them, you know. With the COVID economical impact, where everybody have taken a hit, whether it's a job or a business.
Right.
So we have parents and students asking what could be a backup plan, and what could be the alternative destination which could probably be more affordable looking at the current scenario. Again, as Rituman mentioned, that they are considering joining the USA University, but at the same time, they also have questions like whether the semester 1 or semester 2 would be the total online mode, and whether that really helps us in seeing a reduction in the tuition fees.
Correct.
And do we still see us, you know, joining USA universities?
Absolutely.
And yes, they are keeping a lookout at the scholarships. I mean, I do tell them that it come in all size and shapes and colors.
Right.
And they are like, yeah, show us how many varieties that we may have, you know, available with us. So they are majorly in search of the scholarship still to make it affordable for themselves.
Absolutely.
And again, exploring, keeping a backup plan always handy, you know, which may be an affordable option for them.
Absolutely. That's some great insights. Thank you so much. I'm going to quickly spend the next 1 minute on the last question for the day. I think there was one more. If you had one piece of actionable advice that you could give to US colleges who are participating today, something that you would like to see them doing for fall 2021, what would that be? And I think I might begin with Ritu ma'am. Ritu ma'am, let's begin. We have a quick minute before we get on to the Q&A. If you had one piece of advice, what would that be? Thank you.
Yeah, so I am continuing with the same question. So if something can happen on the fee reduction or maybe scholarship, that can be really helpful for the students. So universities can think of the ways that they can offer the support to the students and parents community. That is something that I really wanted to happen, so that students cannot drop in the idea of going to the choice of their country and the university.
That's a very valid point. Meghna ma'am, what would you like to share?
I would like to stress upon the college-school partnership for the benefit of students.
Wonderful.
As I said, tier 2, tier 3 students have very limited access to the information, at times lack of awareness, and then they miss out on certain good universities or certain good programs where they could do well, you know, they could very well go. So compared to tier 1 students, I believe tier 2, tier 3 cities should now be in the spotlight. And I would really request universities to come forward for that partnership with schools, where and the connect could be like right from offering any program or any university connect, it could be, or it could be any summer program that they could offer. And as I mentioned, the visibility, the connect is the key. So I would really request universities to come forward and offer their partnership.
Thank you so much, Meghna ma'am. Really appreciate that. Manisha ma'am, would love to hear your inputs. What would they be?
So I
About
have
one piece of advice.
two things, Kunal, that I would want the university people who are here, and otherwise also whoever accesses this. There are two things. One, I would want them to have some kind of a channel of information, because
Okay.
there's a lot of um, uncertainty in the minds of the students regarding the governmental policies. And there are a number of rumors being spread by the private consultants.
Right.
If they could be transparent about their college policy.
Right.
The
Absolutely.
second thing that I would want them to do is to organize virtual visits
Okay.
for parents and students. Like they can't really go and visit the universities now. And in my school, it was a very common practice of going and visiting. They would take off in the summer vacation and they would go and visit a number of universities in the US, which has not
Correct.
happened this year.
Correct.
Not happened
Absolutely.
this year, and I don't envision that happening at all. So
Right.
if we could open the portals virtually,
Right.
and we could have virtual visits organized and give us a calendar when our students can go, that would be lovely.
Okay.
So that's it.
Yeah, I think this has been a fascinating hour of insights from all the three wonderful expert guidance counselors that we have today. And what I'm going to do now is going to move on to the Q&A section so that the counselors can participate and answer these questions live that many of these universities have asked. So I'm going to begin with the first question for the day, and it's by Jessica Sandberg. Question for the counselors. Do you believe that the outcome of the November US presidential elections will have an impact on student impressions of the US of the United States? If so, how so? So who would like to take this one?
So
Manisha ma'am, would you like? Ritu ma'am? Yeah, go ahead, please. Manisha ma'am.
students are very hopeful about it,
Okay.
right? And they are following the whole process very very closely, and they are thinking that with the impending elections, uh, there might be some changes. There might be some positive changes in the policy, especially the things that have been coming to us. What you said, the off and on from the ICE that has been coming. So they
Right.
are looking at a more concrete output from the
Right.
ICE and the government in terms of international students. So that's what they are looking at, and they are quite hopeful about it. I don't
Right.
know if their hope is rightly placed or not, but they are hopeful.
Absolutely. Ritu ma'am, Meghna ma'am, would you like to chip in and answer about this as well?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Students are keeping an optimistic view, and they are really looking forward to a student-friendly policy by
Right.
the government. And
Right.
I think it's going to work well. It's going to be a win-win situation for both the universities and the students as well.
Right.
So let's hope for the best.
Let's hope for the best. And Ritu ma'am, what would your message be? Any
Yeah, so I also just wanted to mention, so I mean, listening to this news, they were stressed, but yes, they are hopeful. They are keeping their plan intact to apply to US colleges and hoping for the best.
Absolutely. And I'm going to move on to the next question. It's by Karan Kumar. A question to the counselors. Since your students and parents are more budget conscious without compromising on the quality of education and its outcome, how aware are you and your students about the US community colleges which offer 2+2 transfers model like our college in California, which gets students to transfer to top UC schools? Who would like to begin with that question? That's a great question. Who would like to begin? Meghna ma'am, did I see a hand? Yes.
Yes.
Meghna ma'am, please go ahead.
Yeah, recently I scheduled a session with Foothill De Anza.
Okay.
So that's where it was a wonderful insight for my students to know that
Okay.
the 2 years in the community college is not only saving a lot of money, at the same time, it retains their chances of graduating from bigger and better brand after moving after the 2 years at community college.
Right.
And the locational advantage that the community colleges offer many a times is that you get a lot of opportunities for those co-ops and internships just because they are located in an industrial area or in a
Right.
software hub. And I mean, very many advantages. Not only you are saving money, you are also, it's a way where you are rooted to a better brand name end of the 4 years. And also you're looking forward to a lot of gathering a lot of relevant experience as well.
Right.
So it was a good insight by Futil Dianza, and students have started considering getting into community colleges, especially in the current situations, if that's what makes it an affordable equation for them.
That's wonderful to hear. I think I saw one or two other hands. Was it Manisha, ma'am? Did you go?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Kunal, we have always been aware of the community college 2+2 thing.
Right.
And, our parents, this year is a unique year. That's
Right.
why they're so worried about the budget. Earlier, there wasn't so much of a budget constraints. These
Right.
colleges, they offer a wonderful opportunity for many of our kids.
Absolutely.
And some of them in the past have taken it also.
Correct.
But as of now, the current cohort that I have, nobody is looking at that. I think Meghna is lucky that children are looking at 2+2 community college process. As of now, I don't have anybody looking for it, but we always talk about it to the parents and the students also for various reasons, whether it is a budgetary thing or, sometimes the standardized testing thing, you've not cleared that.
Right.
Colleges are more flexible. So that way we are aware of it and we have been propagating it also.
That's wonderful. Ritu ma'am, if you could kindly add your inputs, that would be wonderful to hear from you. Thank you.
Yeah. So apart from Futil Dianza, there are other colleges that are always in my list when I used to plan my career fair in the past years. So definitely we are very aware of these colleges. Here in my school, I would say along with me, our alumni studying in community colleges have taken this responsibility. So actually along with me, they are spreading this information to juniors and seniors about the community college.
Right.
And yes, definitely when we start our counseling sessions, looking at, of course, the overall application that the student is making, definitely where he fits in best, we make recommendations. So
Absolutely.
this is something that we take care of in our counseling sessions, and yes, we are aware of. And there are multiple reasons. At times, budgetary reason is one thing, but at times, as Manisha ma'am said, standardized testing, and maybe they are not able to score that well, and they haven't got the predicted grades as
Right.
they thought of. So there could be any reason, but yes, we are promoting community colleges.
That's so wonderful to hear, Ritu ma'am, and wonderful to hear from all the other two counselors as well. I mean, about community colleges as well. I'm going to move on to my next question, which is from Jim Crawley. And the question would be, counselors, do your students consider small private liberal arts colleges, or are they focused only on the larger institutions? Who would like to start with that? That's another great question. Who would like to start with that? Any show of hands? Ritu ma'am, we'll start with you. Thank you.
No, so finding best fit for our students, definitely we are looking for liberal arts college. So big brands definitely in the list, but when we are doing this shortlisting, we make sure that there are good colleges, there are good decent colleges, top universities, but there are safety schools as well as like good liberal arts colleges. So definitely we take care of that in our university shortlisting.
Absolutely. And would any other counselors like to join in? Meghna ma'am?
Yeah, well, actually, it's all about finding that right fit, as we always say.
Right.
So to some, maybe that small-sized college and the lower class size is what really matters. And to
Right.
some, it is maybe all possible variety of options as far as major and minor are concerned is what really matters. And they really look forward to build a good campus friendship. They look forward to those variety of clubs where they could be a member of. So for some, yes, a very, very large sized college really works. And for some, it is, I mean, just the right size, the smaller batch size works well. So I would say it really
Right.
depends upon the trait of the students and the right fit for the student that we always talk about.
Absolutely. Manisha ma'am, any inputs on this question?
Yeah, Kunal, we are looking at, many of my students are looking at smaller colleges now. As I said, it's a happy change in the mindset of the students as well as the parents, that they are no longer looking at only the large colleges.
Right.
I agree with my friends here that the best fit is now our everybody is looking at a best fit, whether it is the student or the parent or the
Right.
counselor. So we are looking at smaller colleges also. Those
That's wonderful.
particularly or looking at a particular course, they are looking at smaller colleges also.
Oh, wow. That's so nice to hear that from all the counselors. Thank you. Thank you so much. The next question I'm going to move on is from Izzy Alilin. And Mr. Alilin would like to ask, many of our online courses this coming fall semester as synchronous, requiring the students to participate during the scheduled class day and time in the Pacific time zone. Our concern is that many students from distant time zones do not realize this. Do your students understand synchronous versus asynchronous, and are they okay with waking up very early or staying up very late to participate in the synchronous classes? That's another great question. Manisha ma'am, please go ahead. You can
So,
start.
so what's happening right now? My students are attending summer school,
Right,
right? And they are attending courses, and they are up the whole night attending their courses. And in the morning, I give them a little bit of a flexibility of joining the online classes happening in school a little late, but they come in for that also. So they are this synchronous and asynchronous is very easily the kids have adapted to this in the past few
right,
months. Should not be a problem at all. Staying up late is not a problem for our kids, and they realize that they're already doing it. Right
right.
now, they're going for summer school and doing summer courses, and they are doing it already.
Absolutely. Ritu ma'am, I saw your hand going up as well. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, yes. So I was, I mean, also saying that synchronous and asynchronous, that's the way that our online education is moving. I mean, I'm talking
Right,
about my school term these days. So teachers are teaching in the class and then giving some assignment, and students are turning those assignments in. So that's very much happening, and they're very clear about these two things. And
right,
uh, uh, waking up early and staying late. That was the case earlier as well with these kind of high school students. Basically, I'm talking about. So
right.
that's not a problem. There are certain webinars and lectures happening in between the school time also. So
Correct.
that also I have taken permission from the coordinator, and I am passing it across to our students. And I mean very clearly mentioning that if you are interested in that, you should be attending with my recommendation, but you please inform your teacher. So I mean it's very well planned, I would say, and students are looking forward to it.
That's so nice to hear that. Meghna ma'am, would you like to have any inputs on this one?
Yeah. The students, I mean, as ma'am said, the students are seeing asynchronous and synchronous learning, and then they understand the difference. They understand the advantage of both, and
Right.
they are coping up very well with it. So it is never a problem. It is never a problem. In fact, my batch 2019, who had joined USA, UK, and Canada, who is back home right now, is
Okay.
essentially taking their classes in the middle of the
Right.
night.
Right.
So they all know that's how it works, and they are up to it.
Right. Absolutely. That's wonderful to hear as well. Again, great insights. I'm going to move on to the next question from Mr. Derek Alex. Derek Alex, University of Houston. Thank you, school counselors, for sharing your experience and some great information about your school region and your region. Thank you, Kunal, for organizing this event. Thank you. This may be a little early in the process, but the question is, do you have information on the concerns, questions, expectations that families and parents have regarding their child to pursue face-to-face option in 2021? That's another great question. Would anyone like to start with this question from Mr. Derek Alex? Manisha ma'am, please go ahead.
Though it is early, I agree with the person who's asking this question. It is a little early, but I don't think there will be a problem if things are, better.
Right.
In fact, outside India, things are turning better. The curves are flattening. So
Right.
2021 fall, I don't think there'll be a problem.
Right.
The parents are more than ready to send them out.
Right.
In fact, even now, some of the parents are calling me up and they are telling me that open the school for grade 12.
Right.
Even if they have to stay in the hostel, keep them 2, 3 on a floor. So the parents are very worried about the academics of their students,
Right.
and the face-to-face should not be a problem, hoping that we will have some kind of clarity by
Right.
early 2021,
Great.
and hopefully things will be sorted out by September.
That's wonderful. Nice to hear that. Nice to hear the approach by the parents. Meghna ma'am, anything for fall 2021 that you're hearing that you would like to answer Mr. Derek Alex in terms of, reopenings and sending the children there?
Yeah,
Any
sure.
concern?
Students are optimistic. We do see the inquiry from the parents. I mean, they're concerned about health. They're concerned about the financials, but
Right.
they're still hopeful. They are still optimistic, and they're still considering USA as one of the popular destination. Of
Right.
course, they may have a backup plan, either Canada or staying back in India, but there are a certain set of parents and students who still are applying to USA and are very optimistic and very hopeful about it.
Absolutely. And Ritu ma'am, would you like to share your insights on, fall 2021 and parents having any concerns about that? And maybe it's too early as the gentleman said, but any concerns that maybe that you're hearing?
Yeah, so it's early to decide, but there are concerns. There are concerns related to basically COVID-related situations. So
Right.
how this situation is going to turn up, that is basically they're concerned about. So if the student goes there and something happens, and it's really really far for them to reach out if required immediately. So that's the only concern they have. But I mean, as a counselor, what I'm saying is keeping their options open. So
Correct.
definitely they are very optimistic, and they are keeping their options open, and
Right.
of course backup options are also there. So if the COVID situation is solved, then I don't see any problem for fall 2021 class.
Absolutely. That's such a nice way to put it. If COVID is solved, I don't think there should be any problem. So thank you to again all the three counselors. We're going to move on. We have we have a few more questions, and I think then it's going to be a wrap. The next question is from Mr. Karan Kumar, who would like to ask, what are the major states your students primarily look for to study in the US? Anyone would like to start with that? Meghna ma'am, would you like to start with that? What are the major states your students study? Your students primarily look to study in the US. Which states do they go to?
Again, I say the students have their choice of states based on some advantage that the location offers.
Right.
And it actually varies. But students
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we are with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but students are exploring various options, and they are very optimistic about it.
Okay. That's nice, ma'am. Ritu ma'am, Manisha ma'am, anyone would like to answer this about which states your students primarily look to go for in the US?
Kunal, no particular states as such.
Yeah.
Okay.
We already said that we are now looking at the best fit,
Right.
and they are looking at the campus life, and they are looking at their particular course and ranking. So they don't think in terms of states. They
Right.
think more in terms of what are the kind of academic and beyond academic opportunities they will be offered by the college. So
Okay.
that's the deciding factor for them. They have a lot of choices, and they pick from that. No particular premeditated thoughts about which states to apply to.
State pick that.
Yeah.
Ritu ma'am, real quickly, if you could kindly answer that as well, that'd
So
be great to hear.
completely agree with what Manisha ma'am said and Meghna ma'am said, that there are no preferences about these states. It's finding the right fit, evaluating all the opportunities, options in class, outside the class, and that is how they are making decisions. So no particular state.
Right. Absolutely. I'm going to go to the next question out here, which is by by Callie Kelleher, which is, how do you anticipate that students' testing and secondary credentials will will be impacted due to COVID-19 and virtual schooling? Are there any considerations, in your opinion, that US university admissions offices should be considering in their admissions process? Anyone who would like to take that question?
Kunal, I can go.
Okay.
Whether it is the CBSE or it is the IB, they have devised very strong and very accurate algorithms for calculating the results of the students.
Okay.
This year, of course, there was a little bit of a problem with the IB results that came out. The results that came out this year were much below the expectation of the schools as well as the students, because they were calculating it based on historical data of the school. So there was a hue and cry. I think my colleagues will agree with that. And now the IB is looking at a review process. They are reviewing the results also. They are asking the schools to appeal. So for those admission people in the colleges, whatever results you get, I think they should be looking at it with a little bit of a leniency, because though the algorithms created are accurate, they are taking into account certain things that might not be reflective of the student's actual ability. So they should probably be looking at maybe the SAT subject test, or what the child got in IGCSE in 10th grade. You should have a bigger, broader outlook rather than the last test that the child has taken in the COVID and the virtual situation.
Absolutely. Meghna ma'am, Ritu ma'am, anyone who would like to join into this question? Anyone else?
Yeah, what I really would like to request to the university people is that the admission procedure is really holistic, where right from probably grade 8 or grade 9, you are checking the child's progress. And as ma'am suggested, you need to be really holistic while reviewing the application. And it could just not be that last test which the child has taken in very different circumstances. Also, what I would like to suggest is that community service has been always a very important component of CAS, their extracurricular profile building. And with this COVID, probably now only online options are left with them. Though I do encourage my children by saying that it's a world pandemic and it is here to stay for a while. So if you are not addressing it, how are you reacting to it? You know, it's very important that you do something in relation to this, whether it could be an online crowdfunding or a distribution of food or distribution of masks. It could be anything, or creating an some kind of awareness through some sort of videos. It could be anything, but you have to address to something which is as big as world pandemic. And instead of looking at it as something which is not supporting your profile building, I think you can take it positively and find it a major mean to develop your profile, you know, instead. So that's how I've always been encouraging my students, and probably university also, since they are aware of this extraordinary situations, I'm sure they know how to read the application and how to understand the eligibility of the students.
Absolutely. And Ritu ma'am, or anything else that you would like to add?
No, I agree with what they have said. So, I mean, grades cannot define a student personality. So definitely some leniency is requested while reviewing the application. Rest, they have already mentioned everything.
Okay, I know we've gone a little overboard the time. Just a few more minutes. We have a few more questions, and I think we will wrap it up. So thank you to all the counselors and the attendees for their patience. Really appreciate that. We have the next question from Miss Poonam Venkatesh, who would like to ask, what are the student perceptions on SAT, ACT optional universities? Do they consider them to be a good choice?
I think I have already answered for my students, Kunal.
Right.
That I have a mixed bag. Some of them are looking forward to the SAT being made optional. Some of them are upset about it because they consider their scores to be an edge. So there are mixed emotions regarding that. And there is still lack of clarity on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ritu ma'am, Meghna ma'am, please, if you could.
Yes, especially the 2021 batch, they are into that typical to be or not to be syndrome. And many of the students are still wondering whether they should go ahead with giving at least one SAT this year, you know, whenever possible, because again, SAT comes with a lot of uncertainty, and we really don't know this 29th it's going to resume. 29th of August, but will it really be able to? So with that, students not getting the dates, not getting the centers, whether to go for it or not. So this to be or not to be is a great big dilemma for them currently. And some students, we have that certain share of students who have started searching or altering the university list with the university, who are 100% test optional for 2021 batch to be on safer side. And that's how I think they can play safe and play smart.
Absolutely. Ms. Ritu, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, so I had a few students who planned to give SAT in March, but could not able to give. Then May was scrapped. June there was only SAT subject test, but that was scrapped also. So they are also started looking and revising the list of universities from the list of test optional universities, basically. Though they are very positive that maybe in September or October or December SAT will happen, and they will write to the university to give them some time to produce the scores. But yes, they are re-looking at their university choices, and they are looking at positively.
Positively. That's nice to hear, Ritu ma'am. I think the next question we already have answered it because we went through the US immigration policies and SVP regulations. So I'm going to kindly skip that and move to the next one, which is by Brendan Bond. And Mr. Brendan Bond would like to share. Thank you for your time. Are the high school counselors aware of the online survey managed by the International ACAC, sharing high school specific information on in-person versus virtual school visits and college fairs? I would encourage all high school counselors to look into the survey to better assist university representatives to manage their virtual in-person visits this fall. So anyone who would like to take that?
I specifically could not look at this survey. I will look into it, but definitely, so we are associated with CIALFO. Earlier, we were associated with Navian. So
Right.
they were already scheduling virtual university fairs, and we've had, I think, so far we've already had quite a few virtual university fairs. So definitely, we're keeping a track of it. I personally know a few consultants who, in collaboration with few other university representatives, have also, sort of scheduled a combined virtual fair with a shorter group. So
Right.
not specifically this survey I have seen, I have seen, but definitely we are in touch with all sorts of resources, keeping in touch and not losing any opportunity for these virtual fairs.
Absolutely. Manisha ma'am, Meghna ma'am, have you heard of this survey that Mr. Brendan
No,
is talking
Kunal, I haven't, but it's a good suggestion. I'll look at it and uh, we'll share it with our students and everything.
Okay, Meghna ma'am, would you like to answer for that?
Same here. I have not got any chance to go through the survey, but it would be very interesting to have a look at it in the change scenario, especially.
Absolutely. Mr. Brendan Mon, if you have the link, kindly post it. That I think would be helpful in the chat box.
That would be lovely.
Yes, that would be
Right.
good.
If for all the participating council. Last and final question for the day. I don't think there'll be any more after this. Considering online mode of learning as a new normal these days and in future in store, giving an option to your students if they could finish 12 to 24 college credits of their undergraduate degree while they're in their IB levels and be ready for the US education system, how open would your students and parents be? And I think the second part is benefits are to get familiarized. He's mentioned the many benefits of this. I know for time's constraint, I'm not going to go through everything, but would your students be okay and open to the option of gaining 12 or 24 college credits of their undergrad while they're in the IB or OE levels high school while they're studying their high school program?
Yeah, I mean, you will always have that brighter lot who would be interested in putting in little more hard work and earn this credit. We have this certain set of students who will be open to any challenge and who will be completely open to it, I believe. Why not?
Okay, that's wonderful. Manisha ma'am, Ritu ma'am, if you'd like to kindly chime in and put your inputs.
I would say that probably there would be some students like Meghna is saying that would want to take it on, but I'm not very sure, considering that IB and A levels are in themselves a very rigorous curriculum to follow, and they have so many peripheral things happening with that, and then they have their own profile building. So I'm not sure how well recommended or how well they will be able to perform in it. They would be more than ready to take it on with their spirit, but I'm really not sure how well they would be able to handle it.
Great, absolutely. Ritu ma'am, I know you have a lot of students as well. Would you like to, as a final question for the day, would you like to kindly answer this?
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree. There is a chunk of students who's doing really, really well in their academics, and they would like to do it. But I am not sure with the entire cohort how they are going to take this up. Considering that we have this MSc SES accreditation, so there are certain requirements there also. We are also offering. We are also associated with Pearson and offering PTech as career-oriented learning. So, I mean, with IB, with MSA, with Pearson, they have a lot of things to do. So, whether they'll be able to meet those requirements, all the students, I am not very sure of.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think that is it for the day. We did go about half an hour more, but thank you to the counselors. I knew you have spoken a lot, and a lot of information has been shared. Thank you to all the three panel guidance counselors for taking your kind time. Universities, I just have a quick message for you. I know you had mentioned about virtual sessions with high schools and high school counselors and 12th grade students. Our organization, Knowledge at KPD, Kunal Parekh High School Tours, does organize admissions 101 workshops with high school counselors. And these are fully free of cost. We do not charge US colleges anything, just like our counselor panel discussion series. So please do feel free to get in touch if you'd like to coordinate with these sessions with any of the participating counselors or any other schools, and we'd be more than happy to arrange that sometime in the future for you. Having said that, I want to thank all the three counselors because this has been nothing but fantastic. Great, great inputs, very detail oriented, and this is what we love. Thank you very much, Miss Manisha Rasan. Thank you very much, Miss Meghna Gandhi. And thank you very, very much, Miss Ritu Khanna. To all the three counselors, amazing. We really appreciate your kind time and support, and we look forward to keeping in touch with you. This recording will be on our YouTube page, will be shared with the counselors and universities. And until then, we look forward to seeing you in our next month's edition of our counselors webinar series. So I wish you all a wonderful evening. Please take care, keep in touch. And once again, from my heart, thank you very much. This has been nothing but amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much. Thank
Kunal.
you so much for having us over. It was a very, very enriching experience, and I'm privileged to be a part of this.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Meghna.
you so much.
Thank you, Kunal, for
Thank you.
offering this opportunity. That was really, really enriching. And yes, I'm really grateful to have here in this panel.
Thank you so much, Ritu ma'am. Such a pleasure. Uh,
Bye,
sorry,
Kunal. Take care. And
yes,
you please feel free to share my email with any of the attendants.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Manisha ma'am. Thank you to all the three counselors once again. I wish you all a wonderful evening and a wonderful day wherever you are in this part of the world. So once again, see you very soon and thank you. Take care. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.